What if Anakin did not go to Mace Windu directly after Darth Sidious revealed himself? What if instead he went to Senator Amidala, Padme, and they came up with an idea after that? That's what we're going to explore today. So sit back, relax. I hope you enjoyed today's fan fiction. Of course, leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. Anakin sat in the speeder outside of the Senate building, struggling to process everything that had just happened. He had gone to the Chancellor's office to inform Palpatine that Obi-Wan had engaged Grievous. The war was about to be over, and Anakin had been excited to reveal this information. But then, his entire world had been turned upside down. The Chancellor, the man who was like a father to Anakin, revealed that he was the Sith Lord the Republic had been looking for. Anakin was spinning as he sat, completely unsure of what to do next. Palpatine had offered Anakin a place at his side. Anakin could learn to save Padme. It was more help than the Jedi had offered since he first arrived at the temple all those years ago. The Chancellor treated him like a person, while the Jedi treated him like a weapon without a heart. But Anakin was still a Jedi. He had to go tell the Council about this. It was his duty. Anakin could barely see straight as he took off, eyes full of tears, heart full of pain and sorrow. How could he be betrayed by his most trusted ally? Could he truly save Padme? Questions were flowing through Anakin's mind, faster than the speeder that he flew. He could barely keep flying. The temple was still so far away. And then, everything cleared in his mind as Anakin realized where he was. Anakin looked out his window, and he saw Padme's apartment. He could feel her. She was home. She would know what to do. With a much clearer mind now, Anakin landed outside her home, and he leapt out of the speeder. Once Anakin saw Padme, he broke down, falling onto the couch, putting his face into his hands. She began to frantically ask Anakin what was wrong, if he'd been hurt, and Anakin looked up, his eyes raw and red, face swollen, and he was able to tell Padme the terrible news. Anakin explained everything, that he'd been assigned to spy on the Chancellor, and that the Chancellor had revealed that he was the Dark Lord of the Sith. Palpatine is Sidious. As Anakin continued to talk, Padme could barely believe what she was hearing, but she knew she must maintain a strong approach. Anakin was broken. The person he trusted most, after Padme of course, had just torn his world apart and asked Anakin to join him. And then Anakin revealed that Palpatine was the only person who may be able to save her from dying in childbirth. Anakin said he would do anything to save her, and he didn't know if he could hold himself back from this darkness. He'd slowly started to calm down now, with Padme consoling him, and she began to unveil some sort of a plan. She told Anakin that she loved him because he was good. His good heart was what made Padme fall in love. She was different from other Jedi, not in spite of his emotions, but because they made him a good person. And bluntly, Padme said that if Anakin ever betrayed everything that they knew and loved, Padme would not be able to be with him. They served the Republic, and the Chancellor had been committing treason throughout this entire war. The Sith were on the side of the Separatists. Sidious was clearly the master of Dooku, so Sidious, aka Palpatine, had been playing both sides. Anakin was much calmer now, his cloud of emotion parting ways to understand what Padme was saying. He was good. He served the Republic, and it was clear now that Palpatine was working with the Separatists. This war that Anakin had given everything for, the war he'd fought in service to Palpatine, was all a long play for him, Palpatine, to emerge as the sole victor. And Anakin began to understand that he was truly a vital part of that plan. He wanted to save Padme, but by joining Palpatine to do so, he would end up destroying everything else he loved. Padme then revealed that she had helped put together a delegation. Around 2,000 senators had agreed that Palpatine staying in office for this long and running the war in a way that seemed to have no end, it was not what the Republic needed. Many senators agreed with her. So now if Anakin could find evidence that could directly tie Palpatine to the Separatists, an arrest could easily be made with the support of the Republic. Anakin knew she was right. This had to be done for everything he believed in, but most of all for Padme. Anakin had realized that saving her, only to lose her to the dark path he would need to go, it was not love. He would save the Republic, and then he would get the Jedi to help him, even if it got him expelled from the Order. Anakin knew he had to get proof, so he said goodbye to Padme, and knew where he must go. Castle Sereno, the home of Count Dooku. Now in the Jedi Temple, Mace Windu gathered Kit Fisto, Saesee Tiin, and Asian Kolar. They were off to the Senate building to force Palpatine to give up his emergency powers, or else he would be arrested. Anakin had not yet returned, but Mace was not surprised by this. Anakin and the Chancellor had always gotten along well. They must still be talking, and Anakin would need to understand what was happening when they arrived to confront the Chancellor. As Anakin flew through hyperspace to Sereno, Mace and the other Jedi arrived and told Palpatine that he was to give up his powers, or be under arrest, and things would play out in a way the Jedi never expected. Palpatine said it's treason, then, and ignited a saber, leaping at the Jedi. Mace and the other three had no idea Palpatine was a Sith Lord, and Masters Fisto, Kolar, and Tiin were cut down before Windu could even process what had happened. Windu leapt backwards as Palpatine went for a killing blow on him as well, and he was able to parry a few strikes. But Windu, he was caught completely off guard by this, and after a few parries, Palpatine landed a killing blow on the unsuspecting Jedi Master, killing the final of the four. Sidious scowled to the dead Jedi below him. The Jedi clearly didn't know he was a Sith Lord, but Anakin was not here. He had gone somewhere else, perhaps somewhere to clear his mind. If not the Jedi, then Anakin must have gone to Padme. Palpatine smashed one of his walls in anger, then let the dark side flow through him. He didn't need Anakin. He was powerful enough to lead this empire. He would kill Anakin himself if he wouldn't join him. So, Palpatine executed Order 66 across the galaxy, and prepared himself for what was to come next. He, personally, would lead the 501st to the temple, and he would kill Anakin there when he inevitably came to help. What Palpatine did not know was that Anakin was no longer on Coruscant, and across the galaxy now, the Order came through. Order 66 was executed. Jedi were killed everywhere, and as Anakin emerged from hyperspace, he had to take a second to feel the Force, as a wave of darkness, a wave of pain, hit him in the chest. Anakin felt death, betrayal across the galaxy. He tried to hail Obi-Wan, Windu, Yoda, anyone on the Council frequency, but got nothing. It was like everyone had suddenly disappeared. Anakin doubled his efforts now, taking off for Sereno and landing just outside the castle. He sprinted outside, began searching everywhere for evidence of some kind. Dooku had died recently, and hopefully no one had time to come erase all the evidence, his proof that Palpatine was secretly working with Dooku and the Separatists. Anakin was searching every room without any luck, but as he moved on, he heard boots above him, and then he heard blasters firing in the room above. Anakin ignited his saber and cut a hole in the ceiling, jumping through to find a group of clones. As the clones stumbled backwards, surprised, Anakin quickly glanced around the room to see computers and other technology quickly being destroyed. These clones were erasing evidence. Anakin barely had time to think when he felt a ripple in the Force, saw a clone lift his blaster, and fire at Anakin. Confused but alert, Anakin blocked the blaster bolt into the trooper's gun and told them to stand down, as he was Jedi General Anakin Skywalker. But it was like hearing the word Jedi set off something in these clones, and all 10 lifted their blasters, beginning to fire. This barrage of blaster fire would have been too much for almost any Jedi to overcome, but not Anakin. Obi-Wan had trained him to deflect this many blaster bolts, and Anakin had mastered it to train Ahsoka as well. Anakin blocked them back into the troopers' blasters until a cloud of smoke appeared and hid Anakin enough to let him jump behind all the clones, pushing them into the wall, knocking them out. Anakin couldn't believe it. The clones were betraying him, and Anakin had to wonder if the same thing was happening across the galaxy. That must be the wave of darkness he felt not long ago. So Anakin looked around, seeing everything destroyed, except for one thing, a mechno chair in the corner of the room. Anakin sprinted over and began fiddling with it. He knew from experience that these things held messages. He'd seen Separatist leader Newt Gunray use one before to communicate with other Separatist leaders. Perhaps Dooku had something here. Anakin was lucky that he knew his way around machines, unlike anyone else, and eventually, a hologram emerged with a hooded figure that Anakin now knew to be Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious. The hologram of the hooded Sith Lord was giving Dooku instructions that clearly came right before the Battle of Coruscant. The hologram was telling Dooku to capture him and bring him aboard the Invisible Hand, where they would wait to confront Skywalker together. This was what Anakin needed, a message that clearly showed Palpatine worked with Dooku to get himself captured. Anakin dislodged the part of the chair that held this recording, and he made his way back to his ship. As Anakin took off, 3 clone fighters suddenly emerged behind him and started firing. His presence here was becoming much more known, so Anakin spun around 2 of them, causing them to collide. The third spun with Anakin, and Anakin was able to quickly stop his ship in midair. As the third ship spun past him, Anakin turned and blasted the engines of it. He watched the 3 clones eject to the ground. Anakin still could not bring himself to kill them. Entering hyperspace again, Anakin hoped the Jedi had survived the massacre. And back on Coruscant, Darth Sidious discreetly left the Jedi Temple without letting anyone know who he was and live. And any Jedi that may have caught a glimpse of his face was cut down immediately. The clones only thought of him as an assassin of the Republic, and had been willing to work with the Dark Figure as he cut Jedi after Jedi down. The Temple was massacred, and Jedi around the galaxy were killed in Order 66. Palpatine was slightly concerned though, as Anakin had not been in the Temple, but Palpatine had to hope the clones had gunned him down, wherever he may be. It was time for him now to go address the Senate. Time for him to reveal his new plans for his empire. He had won. The Jedi were no more. Above Coruscant now, Anakin emerged from hyperspace and sped for Padme's apartment. When he landed, he was shocked to find Master Yoda and Obi-Wan already there. They had gone to find Anakin, who was missing. Obi-Wan said he just had a feeling Anakin would be here, but then Padme had explained everything to them. Yoda asked Anakin if he had the evidence to convict and arrest Palpatine for treason, so Anakin pulled up the hologram of Sidious telling Dooku to capture him. The Jedi discussed the best path forward, and Padme was called to an emergency Senate meeting by Palpatine. She told the Jedi it might be best for them to sneak into the Senate and interrupt the meeting with the proof, as everyone would be there. So Padme took off, and the 3 Jedi waited just a bit. Anakin confided in them that he nearly fell to the dark, that Palpatine promised things he could barely resist, and Yoda did the opposite of what Anakin had ever expected. He sat down and actually listened. He was compassionate. It was like he now understood how close the Jedi were to becoming extinct. Obi-Wan also listened, consoling Anakin, then said they will do anything to make sure Padme has a safe birth after this is all over. With a new respect for Yoda and Obi-Wan, Anakin said they should get going, and so they did. The Jedi were able to sneak into the Senate with relative ease, as everyone was focused on what the Chancellor had to say, amidst the destruction of the Jedi Temple. Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Yoda reached a Senate pod as they began to hear what Palpatine was talking about. The Jedi heard Palpatine say the Jedi made an attempt on his life, in an attempt to take control of the Republic for themselves. Palpatine said he had to maintain a safe and secure society, and the Republic would be turned into the first galactic empire. But with a determined look on his face, Yoda had the Senate pod pushed into the center and said, "Not have anything to say about it. We have." And the Senate crowd broke into awe, then some cheers that were immediately overtaken by boos. Palpatine looked down at them with an anger the Jedi have never seen before. Obi-Wan, known largely as a negotiator, spoke now, saying that what the Senate was hearing was a lie. The Jedi had gone to ask Palpatine to give up his emergency powers after the destruction of Grievous. It was then revealed to the Jedi that Palpatine was a Sith Lord, leading the Separatists. And as Obi-Wan continued to talk, 3 Senate pods with Coruscant or Royal Guards began to rise up. Anakin held them in place with the Force, and they began firing up at the Jedi. Obi-Wan continued quickly, and then he said the Jedi have proof of it all. A hush fell over the senators. Palpatine couldn't do anything to risk revealing himself as a Sith, and even the clones stopped firing. They realized if Palpatine was working with the Separatists, they would have to arrest Palpatine. And in front of the Senate, a hologram of a hooded figure appeared. The man explained the attack on Coruscant in great detail, and explained that he needed to be captured. It was clear that this was Palpatine conspiring with Dooku. The Senate went into another uproar, and the Coruscant Guard, they rose past the Jedi, going up to Palpatine. Palpatine was out of options. This was clear proof of treason. So be it, he thought, and shot lightning at the clone pods that had nearly reached him. The clones died immediately, and Sidious flew his pod to the ceiling, jumped through it with a hole he blasted, and reached the roof of the Senate building. Unfortunately for Sidious, the determined Jedi were not far behind. Now on the roof, Sidious was confronted by Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, and to the surprise of the Jedi, he gave an evil smile and began to laugh. Anakin, consumed by a mix of anger and determination, charged at Sidious, his lightsaber blazing. Obi-Wan next to him, his unwavering composure, followed closely, executing precise strikes with his own lightsaber now, and Yoda gracefully leapt into battle, wielding his own lightsaber with incredible skill. Sidious, shrouded in dark robes, revealed his own crimson lightsaber, cackling with sinister energy. He matched the Jedi's intensity, his skills honed over years of manipulation and Sith teachings. With every stroke, he unleashed powerful waves of the dark side lightning, attempting to overwhelm his opponents. Anakin's aggression and raw power collided with Sidious, and the two engaged in a furious exchange, lightsabers clashing with brilliant flashes. Sparks flew as their blades met, each strike going through the air. Anakin tapped into the Force, drawing upon his strong abilities, pushing himself to his own limit, and Obi-Wan, utilizing his own defensive techniques, deflected every one of Sidious's assaults with great precision. His connection with the Force was guiding his every move, allowing him to anticipate the Sith Lord's attacks. Yoda began throwing pieces of the roof at Sidious, and as Sidious blocked strikes from Kenobi and Skywalker, he was knocked off balance from part of the roof, but caught the next part. He swung it across a ducking Anakin and Obi-Wan, and he hit Yoda with it while Yoda was attempting to grab more. Yoda seemed to be knocked out, so Anakin and Obi-Wan re-engaged the Sith Lord. Sidious began taunting Anakin. Sidious said that his wife will die without him, and Anakin begins to lose ground. But Obi-Wan sees this as an opportunity, and while Sidious is locked onto Anakin, Obi-Wan slashed the leg of the Dark Lord, knocking him down to face Kenobi as he puts the saber to the neck of Sidious. Obi-Wan tells him that he's under arrest, and Sidious spits ferocious lightning at Kenobi. Anakin looked on as Sidious seemed to run out of energy and look right at him now. Sidious said that he's the only one with the power to save Padme, and that Anakin must choose the Jedi or Padme. Sidious can feel the conflict, and when Obi-Wan feels it too, he knows he must kill Sidious. There's no choice. So Obi-Wan lifts his lightsaber, and as he swings down, Anakin ignites his own and swings it. Anakin looked down to the dead body of Darth Sidious, who he just killed with his own saber. He knew Sidious was about to electrocute Obi-Wan in just another second, so Anakin did what had to be done. Sidious was never truly lost. He thought Anakin would join him in the end. He was always wrong. Clone gunships finally reached the roof as Anakin, Obi-Wan, and a recovering Yoda stood over the body of the Sith Lord. With proof of his treason, the Republic would regard Palpatine as a traitor and move past him, electing a new Chancellor and ordering the clones to stand down from hunting any Jedi. The Jedi Order would rebuild and change, with Anakin, Yoda, and Obi-Wan, becoming a trio of Grandmasters, while allowing Padme and her children to live in the temple with Anakin. The Order was relocated to Ahch-To, where the Jedi were away from the galaxy, on a planet with the first ever Jedi temple. That's where we're going to wrap it up today. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Please do leave a like, subscribe, and let me know what other videos do you want to see. Of course, check out my previous few. I've been having a lot of fun with this, so thank you for the support. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in the next video.